Peace. This is Fader Rock. MOR, Matches of Reality. TNR, the nation's roughest crew of Scarce Elementz. G4, you know what it is. And you were tuned in to GFG TV. Yikes.
Boom. So we kicking into episode 1. First, we want to thank you for your time sitting down with us here at GFG TV. We appreciate you.
Much love. Glad to be here.
We always kick it off with just letting people introduce themselves, where they're from, their name. Yeah. So if you just want to kick it off with that, where are you from? What's your name?
So, I mean, heads know me as Fader Rock, Asphate. All of them work. I've been in Des Moines long enough to say I'm from here. That's what I like to say. I'm proud to say that. I hate motherfuckers that come from other places and they try to high side on us. And they try to say shit like, I ain't like you niggas here. And then when you ask them, well, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Chicago, I'm from New York. Or when you get here, nigga, 87. Okay, nigga, so if you die, the newspaper is going to say Des Moines man died. Yeah. And they're going to say Chicago man died and all that other shit. So,
where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Indiana. I was born in Kokomo, Indiana. Ended up living in Indianapolis and going to my elementary schools and high school there. But, you know, I was a little rambunctious when I was young, so I got kicked out to go meet and live with my pops down in Alabama, down south, when I was like 11. And so that time, up through middle school and a grade and a half of high school, I was down in Alabama, you know, which is, I like having moved down there because Nat was like a real player city. Like, you can get away with like having a mouthpiece, you know, be slick with your words and that sort of thing. And don't get me wrong, motherfuckers will knock your head off there too. But, you know, you say the right thing with the right flow to it and finesse to it, the girls start laughing at the motherfucker, you won that round, motherfuckers leave it alone. I remember showing up in Alabama and nigga, all my jokes was still the funniest. But, you know, a motherfucker would be like, okay nigga, well, I can't joke, I whoop your ass. And that, me acclimating to that culture was probably the healthiest thing for me because I took on that mindset and adopted that mindset to where, you know, that's why sometimes I see like people see my persona online, especially when it has to do with certain subjects like graffiti writing and other shit like that. I'm not here to play around. I'm going to take a 0 to 60 just to see like, are you ready to drive or did you not mean to be on the track today? And if you didn't mean to be on the track, get your fucking car off of here. This ain't for spectators type shit. So, I got that mindset from living down south, moved back to Nap, was up there until like 9-7, moved to Fort Dodge. My mom's moved to Fort Dodge at the end of my junior year.
Let me ask, what ties did you have to Iowa? Why Fort Dodge?
None.
So why Fort Dodge?
I honestly don't think I can say it on camera.
Okay.
The real underlying reason.
Absolutely.
But let's say my stepfather found employment here.
Yeah.
So you moved to Iowa,
yeah.
Fort Dodge.
Yeah.
When was the transition between Fort Dodge and Des Moines?
So I hooped. Used to dunk on niggas shit. Heavy. Real heavy.
How old are you, Phil?
Really, really heavy. And 41 they say.
Okay.
That's what the last person told me.
Okay.
Hooped my senior year. I hooped 1 year there. Ended up going to Iowa Central to hoop. Ended up getting recruited by Grandview and ended up here 02. So I've been in Des Moines ever since 02. We're 2023 now. My daughter just passed away a few weeks ago. I just lost her, but she spent most of her life here in Des Moines. She was at Iowa State, just got her degree. The degree actually just arrived a day or so ago, and we already got her ashes at the crib, which is fucked up. She never got to see it. But
I hear that, bro.
But I appreciate it. But I bring all that up to say, I've been here long enough to raise my seed for damn near the entirety of her life up until her death, right? I've met some of the illest and most loyal motherfuckers I've ever come across here. There was a point in time where, you know, I was living out the back of my car, house to house. You spend the night at this motherfucker's crib for 2 or 3 hours until, you know, their parents start being like, who was that big nigga up in the bunker? You know what I'm saying? And then you go to another house and you rotate. And I ended up getting down with some heads and a family in Fort Dodge that just really looked out. And just here in Iowa in general, there's just been so many motherfuckers that it's what causes me to tell people that the state of Iowa's greatest asset is its people. It's really its people. It's the thing that makes it the ill type of spot you respect to come back to if you come and spend time with the people, the real people.
Right.
If you're looking for nightlife and shit, of course Miami's gonna outshine us. You know, of course you don't want to go to LA and shit and stay. But in terms of real, like down to earth motherfuckers, you can just come like lounging, chill with, have your back when it's time to be back to back in the jungle. I'll pick Iowans over a lot of motherfuckers. So because of that, when you ask me where I'm from, I said from Des Moines.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You say you was from the South.
I didn't say
Alabama, that's where you was at.
I was there.
Indiana?
I wasn't from there, but yeah, I went there.
Okay, so was there any type of culture shock when you moved to Iowa?
Yeah. So Nat sometimes has the Indianapolis, when I say that for those who don't know. Sometimes it gets the reputation of like a little Atlanta, you know, or secondary chocolate city, if you will. It's got the biggest black expo in the world. It's just got a lot of shit pushing African American culture and supporting community economics and shit like that. So coming from that sort of environment and coming from a school where there was 4,000 kids in my high school. I went to one of the biggest high schools in Indiana, North Central High School. I think my year that I was supposed to graduate was maybe like 3,785 or something like that. But I remember the school being so big, dog, that like it wasn't uncommon for you to even your second or third year there, like you'd be walking to the career center or from one place to another, and you could walk all day and pass hundreds and hundreds of students and never see a person you knew. Like that could happen on a day. That's how many kids was there or whatever. And I'll never forget, after I moved from that joint, I hollered at my man Alchemist, who writes Graff with me. And he was telling me about a girl who just hung herself in the bathroom at the high school with these combat bootstraps, military grade like bootstraps. And when he told me who she was and showed me the pic, we went to school with her for like 2 or 3 years and we didn't know who the fuck she was. That was how vast it was, you know, and I remember thinking to myself like, shit, the concept of thinking about being popular or some shit like that don't even make no sense. You kind of like fade into the fabric of things, you know what I'm saying? So when I came to Iowa, it was different because it was condensed. It was smaller. You would pass people that you knew 5, 6, 7 times a day. A homeboy of mine from the past was just joking the other day because this very similar to how it was down south for me. I'd also get into situations where it's like, okay, so you got to fight, you squad with someone, you hooping on the court, you get into it with someone, you squad. You was just chilling with your homie over here all day, but now that you squad with his cousin DeAndre, as you squabble with him, you hear him, get that nigga Dre, you know, and you're like, damn, Pete, we was just around it. Yeah, you know, but I was used to that because of that time down in Alabama, where you might joke around, and the motherfucker be like, man, so what, I whoop your ass, you trying to do that. You go there, you whoop that motherfucker, now the next thing you know, big cousin comes down the street, where Boo Man? That's what he used to call me back then, where Boo Man? You know, if you do that right, now a brother might be coming down the street. And everywhere I moved, I didn't ever have no cousins with me or brothers or nothing like that with me to catch shot. So every sense of camaraderie that I've had has come from just loyal friends and me being stand up and the people around me being stand up. And I think that's probably why I value motherfuckers in Iowa so much. And I can't stand to let motherfuckers from some other state try to talk crazy on us. Dude, when we be on tour and shit, I remember we was in Vegas. This cat's crying after we get off stage. And he's like, man, I've been listening to you guys since I was in high school. You helped me get through this rough time and all this yada, yada, yada. Bought a CD, right? I don't mean to sound like I'm talking shit about that part. That was sentimental. I went with it, right? Next thing you know,
this is in Las Vegas.
This is in Vegas. Next thing you know, the cat, this is 2012 in Vegas. We're on G4 tours. Me, Quasar, Bat Salts, and Lady Daisy. Next thing you know, he's drying his eyes. So you guys are the potato state, right? Mind you, I still got the hand on the CD that I just sold them. And like when you on tour, every bit of money you make from merch, like you kind of need it. You know what I'm saying? You want that. I know I need and want this $10 for this album I just sold him. But he said that potato state shit, right? And I'm at the point where I'm like, no, dude, I need to put some respect on our shit, right? So I just kindly correct him because everybody ain't good at geography, right? So I ain't bugging off that. But then he proceeds to try to talk and talk shit and be like, oh, you guys are Iowa. You're not even the potato state. What do you guys have? You guys ain't got shit there. So basically where he ended up going, because he said more than that I just can't repeat verbatim, but where he ended up going was to a point where he ended up essentially saying, the place you're from is whack, but you guys are dope. Right. You're dope. Nigga, I ain't going for that. Give my CD back, man. Yeah. Give him his money back. I don't fuck around like that. I don't have no patience for motherfuckers who try to talk shit about this place. And usually he was a fan, so he got off lucky. But if there's some other sort of situation, yeah, he would have ate the words in a different fashion.
So you ready to so even today you ready to scrape a motherfucker that talk down on Des Moines or Iowa?
Yeah. Y'all seen that shit online? When I catch Tone, he gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What gives you what
Let me
makes you
correct
so,
that. I'm gonna ask him if he meant to say what he said when he said it online. If he meant to put my name and the word bitch in the same sentence. If he previous to that meant to talk shit about Iowa MCs, say they all suck. If he meant to talk and be like, y'all niggas from here don't understand niggas in Chicago do this and that to you. Man, y'all know as well as I do how many motherfuckers that moved down here from Chicago, they got a chick pregnant, still here, and they getting their ass tossed up, beat the fuck up here, but when they go home they talk heavy. Well, I don't give a fuck about where you from.
So let me ask you this: what makes you so passionate about defending Des Moines? Because I think that's a beautiful thing.
Everything I just said, where, let's just say I had a lot of positions where things could have gone a totally different way.
Yeah.
And the heads that were here looked out for me in such a way that it'd be whack of me or foul of me to not reciprocate that in some way and not honor it in some way and that sort of thing. And I think honoring it starts with first taking the place here and people here seriously. Not thinking just because somebody did something nice for you that you say thank you, but in the back of your mind you're still like, yeah, thank you. I'm like, man, I used you that one time.
Yeah.
No, man, like, nah, it's something to be considered here because that motherfucker didn't have to do what they did, type of thing. And when I think about all places that I've been, yeah, I got into some static here, and yeah, I done had to fight, one cat and then turn around and fight his cousin, all that sort of thing. But we done also squad with the homeboy, and then I forgot we both caught the same ride to the court to hoop. So now after we just squabbed on the court, he get in the front seat, I get in the back seat. Yeah. Right? We breathing hard and shit in there. The homeboy was just over my crib the other day. We just talked about this. We breathing hard in there. He turned around. You all right, little nigga? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, you straight? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, then, nigga. So we go on, you know? You need to have shit like that happen to develop certain types of bonds. And for me, this is where that's happened.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome. I don't think we've ever interviewed somebody so passionate about the Des Moines scene, dog. And that's a breath of fresh air, dog.
Yeah, you know why? Because it's easy to not be, and we don't have to be. So, heads may or may not know about my graffiti history, but there's a short documentary we put out online called Decoded, The Color of a City. And it just talks about the graffiti exhibition event that we put on called Color Codes. It's the largest graffiti exhibition in the state. Pandemic kind of shut it down, but we had it rocking 2014, 2015. I think 16 we did something with the students instead, a color control workshop. I think we came back 17, and then 19, most recently we did it Kung Fu Alley and In the Shadows of Ninja Bridge. And that's why if you go and look at that wall that's outside of the social club right now in 9th and Mulberry, you see like a samurai face, and you see ninjas, and you see the dragon fighting the tiger. Because the whole thing that I said that year was some Kung Fu type shit. But where that all began was a graffiti exhibition that we started in 2014. The people that I invited to come and be a part of that stemmed from my journeys, being on tours, rocking and doing missions, late night missions, painting with heads at 2 a.m. in Denver, out here in Seattle, out here in LA, New Mexico, what have you. But even then, in doing that, I wanted to only bring motherfuckers that was going to come here and not be, too arrogant, trying to high side on us and try to shit on our city and do shit like that. So I literally had to hand pick heads from Chicago whose head wasn't too big, heads from here whose head wasn't too big, because I had to ask them a favor. And that favor is, when you come to Iowa, when you come to this graffiti jam, which is the first time we're doing a jam in this state ever, I know our tendency as vandals, as criminals, is to crush. We want to destroy. We're going to get out and bomb. Don't do it in my downtown area. Please. Because if you do that, the business owner's going to complain. The event administrator's going to hear about it. We'll never be able to do this thing again. Yeah. But I'm trying to build something here. And so it was important to rock with heads that had a certain mindset from all these other locations where naturally they could come in with a big ego. After the joint started to take off, second or third year, then it's funny because you start having heads from LA and other places hitting me up and being like, yeah, I heard you guys got this color codes event going down. You can go ahead and invite me out. All I need is $5,000.
Oh my God.
You can even put me as a headliner. I'm like, man, motherfucker, I got a 21-year-old who's down to sleep on my floor who came all the way here on the train from Cali, who you don't even know, and will fucking do 3 pieces before you finish your first and clean your clock. The fuck is you talking about? And we had to, I had to take that stance in order for it to be at a spot now to where I hear heads traveling and they're like, dude, that Color Codes was one of the better graphic events we've ever been at. Every time I go to a graphic event in Chicago, nigga, shots is ringing off. Somebody's getting bumped, you know? It gets vicious in other places, but I wanted the tone to be different here. But more importantly, and in answer to some of the questions you were asking, I wanted to develop a respect for Des Moines. You could come from another city, you could do all that sort of thing, but know that we know what the fuck we doing here too. Just like y'all doing this podcast shit. I'm glad to come do this. Y'all added the visual element. I got a podcast. I'm not doing that because I know it's a whole nother aspect to it. And I don't like half-assing shit. I don't like doing nothing half-assed. Yeah. I don't believe it. And I think that we buy into doing that too much in Iowa to the extent that you hear people rock with this self-defeatist attitude. The reason I brought up that documentary is because towards the beginning of that documentary, you hear me repeat these same words I'm saying right now, which is too much. When I came here, for all the love I developed for people here, I would hear way too many people kind of ride the dick of every other place outside of Iowa and act like if someone is dope from here, it didn't matter until they proved to be dope somewhere else. Yeah. And I don't like that line of thinking. I don't like that line of thinking because then what that means is our perspective of success is always contingent upon an external source. Right. How the fuck you gonna do that?
How do you do that in your personal life? You do that in your personal life, you're gonna be a
yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can't expect to do that on a bigger level.
Exactly right. Exactly. Yeah. So to me, you asked the question of like, why would you be so passionate about Des Moines? Because here, this is my home. This is where I live at. Shit, you here to defend your home too, right? Absolutely. We all stand on our ground, right? So that's what I'm on. And to me, it ain't even nothing special.
So we talked a little bit about art, a little bit. We got into some of that. Tell me a little bit about the
CNR crew, MOR, Masters of Reality, The Natural Remedy, The Nation's Roughest.
Let's tell me something about the Scarce element.
Ooh, okay.
What is that?
All right then. Secrets unknown. All right, so Scarce Elements was started by my homeboy Letter 91. He's out of California. We're about a 7-man crew. There's Dank. There's myself. There's Limzarelli, who's originally from Fort Dodge. That's where I met him when I first moved there. He now lives in Jefferson. If y'all get out to Jefferson, Iowa, believe it or not, they got an award-winning Chinese restaurant. I believe it's called the P&E restaurant.
P&E, I've been
yeah, is it good?
P&E's fire.
Okay, word. Yeah. So y'all heard it here first from the off-camera cameraman. Yeah. P&E's fire. Limzarelli, who's the chef there and the owner there, is a partner with me in Scarce Elements. Really? So so he did the rooftop. Yep. If you've seen the roof, that picture of the rooftop of that joint is nasty. You got like flamingos and other types of birds on there and shit. Mm-hmm. Anyway, you got Letter 91 out of Cali, you got Russo Rock out of Phoenix, you got Dank who's in Denver, Organs who's in California, Kyle who's in California, and me and Limbs are here in Iowa. And I would be what you might call like the Midwest ambassador for Scarce Elements. So when certain jobs and commissions come up and shit like that, if it's here, someone's likely gonna hit me up, and then I get the reinforcements. And so the heads draw in from that. So if you're looking for work that we may have done in Ankeny in the district, right where I think American Bar or some shit like that used to be, there's that butterfly joint that's on the side. We did that. Audio Labs on Ingersoll, both sides of the wall. We did that.
So all these are these just paid gigs, or y'all just
these are what I'm mentioning right now is paid shit because I can't I can't really talk about the other shit, which is really the official shit. Yeah.
Bring out Vlad. Vlad, get your ass in.
Hey, remember that episode from Barker where he first met his son? And his son was like, Mom said you guys had a really good time that night. Oh, shit. That's how I feel right now. Whenever I talk about that shit, you know. Yeah. All right, but here, so check this. So here is a little tidbit though. If y'all see the wall that's behind Central Campus, right? That was a wall that for several years during the same time we were running color codes. I I was conducting workshops with Des Moines Public Schools, and so heads from Hoover, East, North, Valley, even heads that got kicked out of schools and shit. Once a week, they'd show up to the social club, and I would just conduct a graffiti workshop. And a letter sometimes would assist me with it. My homeboy Letter 91. You may have heard the story back in like 2015 where we were doing a project with those students and that wall got painted over by the city, even though they knew they weren't supposed to do that shit. There had already been approval by county clerk, superintendent, the principal of the school. Dude, when you paint a wall like that, it has to be approved by the Army Corps of Engineers. You have to get that in depth with your contact and your red tape and shit. We done that even. So the fact that was painted over like late night and Sunday at a weird time when they normally don't do shit, it was just some crazy shit. But that story ended up going all the way to the Washington Post. Anyway, the community really got behind the programming that was going on there. And what we would do is for 8 weeks, kids would show up once a week. We'd come and we'd work for an hour and a half on just different graffiti shit. I'm teaching them different stages of graffiti, just can control, line work, fills, and then slowly but surely getting into straight letters, maybe some cursives, maybe some bubbles, throw ups, and shit like that, starting with tags and shit. And if someone was diligent and they came all those, the first 7 or 8 weeks, then the very last week, no matter what high school they were in, they would get permission and get out of school. They'd come to Central Campus and we would be painting that wall together. Gateway Market was catering it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but like they literally have permission to be out of school, right? And so that would be essentially their final project, that 8th week, working on that wall, that flood wall. So that continued. There were different iterations of it. So one year we had to get the first 250 feet approved. The next year we got the next 250 feet approved, and so forth after that. That big long quote that used to be on that wall said, it was a James Baldwin quote, and it said, those who say it can't be done are usually interrupted by others doing it.
Hello.
And that's really our mindset, right? Especially once the city had come and like, for that to happen, that means someone made a phone call in to complain. So someone tried to keep us from doing a thing, but they couldn't do it. Yes. So that's what we went with in terms of that long ass quote. Now, bring you up to current. Since that time frame, oh shit, let me slow down. The Japanese whiskey is getting to us. This episode is brought to you by Hatozaki.
Say it slow, nigga. Say it slow.
Hey, no Hatozaki. So check this out though. So right before the pandemic, I was doing the same sort of workshops, but it was the opposite side of the wall, which faces Central Campus, right? Not the river, right? We had already done the river, so the school was like, hey, that's done. Leave that there. Do something here on the opposite side, which is the same side students can look out the windows at to see. The problem with that, though, is that the rails actually run through there, right? So it was about the 7th or 8th week of that program. Now, mind you, if you were keeping up with what I was just saying, then you know once we get to about the 8th or 9th week, it's project time. Kids get out of school. We're going to turn it into a fun day. We got music down there playing. And now they get to paint on the wall for a semi-permanent mural project. Dude, it's like the 7th or 8th week. I take the kids out to the joint. There's a rail worker out there who ends up calling the chief engineer for Iowa Interstate Railroad. This had never happened before. We've been painting out there for 4 years by this time now, right? Or 5 years, I'm sorry. Conducting programming for that long. Long story short, Cat hops on the phone with me and he's like, yo, you can't be doing that. You know, someone killed out there. This is a 25-mile-per-hour track. And I haven't lost anyone in 27 years. I don't plan to lose anybody now. Now that I totally get. I was a parent at the time. I care about the kids. So part of what we would learn in the workshops is what we learn ourselves as graffiti writers. You know, railroad protocol. Don't cross the train if you don't have to, meaning don't go up and over it. Like, don't walk around if there's enough room, enough space, and all that sort of thing. Be mindful. You know, don't wear headphones in so you can't see, because sometimes trains creep real slow, right? Never play around under a train or do shit where you stand in between the cars. I got a homeboy down in Arizona. Sometimes when we're painting down there, he has to ask me to like paint his upper lines and shit on him, get a can and say, fake hit that can. And the reason he does that is because he's half my height, because both of his legs got cut off for being in between the train like that, right? And the thing about when a train moves, there's a shock wave. And if you're not used to this sort of thing, you can be standing between those two metal giant train cars and you'll hear a shock way down there. And then you'll hear and then all of a sudden, boom, there's a jerk of about 3 to 6 feet. If you're in the wrong spot, there ain't nothing about that steel car that's waiting for your little bones. It's a wrap, right? So we're already teaching the kids all this sort of protocol. But mind you, the chief engineer of the railroads doesn't know that. All he knows is he's got a call from one of his workers. They're right down here on the railroad track. Are about 10 to 12 kids, and this black dude with dreads who's been painting all day and doing all this shit. So ultimately, that dude, he said, I'm gonna get in touch with the city and all this other sort of shit, and I'll get back to you. We have, again, the principal, superintendent, county clerk, all types of motherfuckers rolling and riding for us. Next thing I know, I get a call from the school. They say, Fate, don't show up today, because they said if Fate shows up and he ends up in that rail yard, we're going to charge him with child negligence and trespass. So,
damn.
That ended that programming. They never got to have their end day fun day project, and I stayed away from the rails for a bit. But then we started noticing that side of the wall that faces the city, that faces the river, it started getting vandalized. I'm all for vandalism. We're all vandals, right? But like, not in our shit. So this past year or so, we decided to reclaim it. And so if you drive MLK into downtown, especially if you're coming up from the south, and you see that red on the wall, and there's one whole side that's Mortal Kombat themed. We call it Color Combat. There's a whole other side that's Thundercat themed. You know what I'm saying? But that whole stretch, if you look at that wall that's behind Central right now, that whole red stretch is what we had to do to revitalize the wall after acts of vandalism were committed against the project and work that our young children were working on. That's all that was, you know. So I don't know why I got off in a tangent on the scarce element shit. Yeah. So that's our presence here is that and throwing color codes and just trying to establish a different level of status here. But I got done with Scarce Elements 2013. Matter of fact, Letter, who was the founder of it, hit me up because he was headed to Chicago, and we were headed to Chicago for a show, Maxilla Blue, my crew. And he was like, man, if you ever need me to do some artwork for you, blah, 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 whatever. I went and started looking at this dude's shit. I'm like, God damn, this little 20-year-old motherfucker's a monster. He's nastier than me. I ain't gonna tell him that, but the motherfucker's nasty.
You just did, nigga.
Yeah, at this point,
Years later, couldn't build his head.
At this point, we there now, right?
Yeah.
We weren't crew then. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't crew then.
So this is Letter we're talking about,
This is
right?
Letter.
So, and most importantly, you're gonna have to tune into episode 2 to hear about Letter.
Okay, word up.